Bournemouth welcome West Ham to the Vitality Stadium on Saturday afternoon for a Premier League clash that promises entertainment. Bournemouth have both scored and conceded goals for fun this season, but after an encouraging start to the Premier League campaign, Eddie Howe's men have struggled in recent weeks, recording only just one victory during the last 9 outings. On the other hand, in contrast, West Ham have endured a sticky start to the season, but we have turned things around, and with news breaking in the week that Arnautovic wants to leave the club, one of the players that West Ham are interested in is Callum Wilson of Bournemouth. Still, Bournemouth, what are your thoughts on the game this weekend?
Between us in the 7 Premier League meetings that we've had, there's been 28 goals in those games, so you can rest assured that it won't be a 0-0 ball on Saturday.
Yeah.
Of those 7 games, we've lost 3, drawn 2, and won 2. So quite even. I think Bournemouth is that kind of team that always seem to turn up against West Ham. They always seem to put in an awful lot of effort. When we play them, we're roughly the same in the league. But this is the sort of team that we need to show that we are becoming superior to.
Yeah.
No disrespect to them, but with the investment in the squads, with the manager like Pellegrini, etc., this is the sort of team that we should be showing that we're actually making headway against. So it's going to be an interesting game on Saturday. And of course, there's all this backdrop with are we linked to Callum Wilson? Are we not linked to him? Etc., etc. Will we replace Arnautovic and so on? So it kind of spices things up a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, Callum Wilson is rumoured. He's 50-50 for this game. He picked up a hamstring injury and he is 50-50 for this game. And we know Callum Wilson really well as West Ham fans. As well do we know their backup striker, Josh King, because it seems to be that we are that football club that are familiar with players who like to score against us, who continually score against us. How do you rate Callum Wilson still? Or do you?
He's done well. He's done well. Credit to him. He's one of those players that's come through the ranks, hasn't he? Sort of from non-league, etc. And he's done extremely good. I'm surprised that anyone would want to spend £50 million on him, to be honest.
Well, apparently some teams, Bournemouth, are potentially stating that they're wanting more than that.
Or £75 million, and I just don't think, and that's just to ward people off. That's just to put people off.
Yeah,
but given his injury history, I don't think personally he's the sort of player that we should be going for. And I don't think he's the sort of player that will suit our style of play, to be quite honest with you. So, hats off to him. He's done really well for Bournemouth. He's shown a lot of potential. He's scored an awful lot of goals for them.
Well, he's got 9 goals in the Premier League still and 5 assists, so he's an extremely important player for them.
Absolutely.
And they've scored 31 goals, but they have conceded 42. So does this have the makings for a high-scoring game if you've got players like Callum Wilson available?
Well, as I said, we've had 28 goals in 7 meetings in the Premier League between us, so you're going to see goals in this game. You're bound to, and it probably will be down to they sort of seem quite gung ho when they play against us. Our last meeting at Bear Ground was that controversial 3-3. So I think it will be. I think we'll score a good few goals, but I think it'll be a matter of just trying to outscore them. They conceded far more goals than we have this season, but in terms of scoring, the number of goals they've scored are pretty similar to us. It's going to be pretty high scoring, I reckon.
You're looking at all the stats for Bournemouth as well. Like we did mention that they are high scoring. You've got Callum Wilson on 9 goals, David Brooks on 5, Ryan Fraser on 5. Ryan Fraser has got 9 assists. Him and Callum Wilson have collectively between them pretty much scored most of Bournemouth or consisted in most of Bournemouth's goals this season. So they've got. What is it about Eddie Howe in Bournemouth? What has he done? there's this thing going around on social media. Everyone's talking about this 10-year challenge. And Bournemouth, someone had put out something about, or I think it was Bournemouth, had said, I think ours beats them all. 10 years ago, they were sitting bottom of League Two. Now they're sitting, 12th in the Premier League. And Eddie Howe's been a pivotal part of everything that's happened at Bournemouth.
Yeah, he's been a catalyst, hasn't he? You know, he's got a good philosophy. He's a young manager. He's got fresh ideas about managing. And of course, you know, there's been rumour in the past that fans would like him to manage West Ham. Yeah. So he's achieved a hell of a lot, and to actually stabilise a team like Bournemouth, given the small, you know, how small they are in terms of fan base, you know, as in getting fans in the stadium, etc. You know, all credit to him. He's got a philosophy that obviously his team buys into. He seems to be quite clever in purchasing players that fit into a mould, that fit into a way of playing, and it continues that balance with the club. You know, that's why he's been successful, and he's driven them on and on. One wonders, you know, I said at the start, you know, this is a type of team that we should be measuring ourselves against as to how far we can progress. Because you know, with the greatest of respect to Bournemouth, I don't think they'll progress much more than being a mid-table team, unless they have a huge amount of investment put into them. Whereas we've had that, so I'm looking for West Ham to really show this season that we are going to progress against the likes of Bournemouth.
Yeah. And we'll come back to that point in a minute. Other players I want to talk about from Bournemouth is a player we were linked to quite strongly over the summer and also again in January, but they managed to get through the line. It's Nathaniel Klein. They've got on loan from Liverpool, and it looks like that's potentially a big, massive mistake by Liverpool, because it looks like they've lost one of their full-backs, and they've got really no one else to cover the position. Now, do you rate Nathaniel Klein? I mean, you've got him on one side, you've got Aki on the other. I mean, Aki's kind of doing really well in there as well. Begovic, another player we were linked to, another goalkeeper, which, to be honest, I'm quite happy. I mean, we can't complain about Fabianski whatsoever.
I would have been happy having Klein at West Ham, to be really honest with you. Fredericks hasn't quite hit off where we thought he would. And now he's injured, of course, and we're so desperately reliant on Zabaleta to stay fit. But we all know, you know, that Zabaleta can't play week in, week out. You know, there are times when he needs a rest. It would have made perfect sense for us to go in for Klein. He's a decent right back. You know, he's okay. And I think Liverpool, as you've sort of pointed out, are a bit foolish to have let him go, even though it's on loan. But I think Klein would have been decent for us. I think there's no reason. Am I right in thinking he can play both sides, but his preferred is right? Yeah. Or am I wrong there? You know, he could have covered. He could have even covered. You know, I know we have this big debate every week about Masuaku and Cresswell, and thank God Cresswell's form is coming back. You know, he's looked pretty good the last few weeks. But when he's out, we start sweating, because we all know Masuaku is not as good a left back as Cresswell is. Yeah. So Klein would have been an ideal loan signing for us. But maybe our attention's been taken off because of all the stuff that's happening further up the field with all the strikers that seem to want to leave us. How ironic all of a sudden, you know.
There's another player before we come on to West Ham, a player that probably every West Ham fan definitely knows who he is, and probably has a little bit of an interest in how his career is turning out, as Junior Stanislas. Because for me personally, still, I mean, I remember when he broke into the team, and he contributed quite well. Actually, scored a few goals. He assisted a few of them in his goal to game ratio. But he kind of got released, and I think at the time I remember thinking it was like him and Zavon Hines and Freddie Sears. It was coming through that era of players that were coming through our ranks, and I do always think to myself, and remembering back and thinking, did we let him go a little bit premature? Because every club makes a mistake, and you see how he's come onto himself in the Premier League. I mean, he is doing well. I mean, what are your thoughts on him? Because he's looking to start. He's got a point to prove.
He's a decent player, and you know, he puts in a good shift for Bournemouth. He's He's the sort of player that I genuinely don't think he would have been a starter for West Ham if had it stayed for us. But he would have certainly been a good squad player, someone pretty decent to come in off the bench. But Bournemouth have, taken him on. It's interesting. Stanislas could have ended up sort of being a bit of a floater. He could have ended up going from club to club to club, but he's settled in Bournemouth. He's respected there, and he puts in a good shift for them.
Absolutely.
And I think I know what you mean, because at that time there were a number of youngsters, as you mentioned, who were looking like they had great potential. So,
but still, I've just pulled his stats up here. So since he's moved to Bournemouth, he's played 118 games in the Premier League. He scored 22 goals. He has assisted 13 also. I mean, it's a great
good return.
Good return playing at that level, So I'm not trying to say we haven't progressed as a club. It's just one of those players that he's the man I would watch because he's got a point. He's always got a point to prove.
Yeah, as I said, I think he would have done okay for us at West Ham. I'm trying to wrap my brain as to who was around at that time that would have decided that he wasn't better than who we had available. But I just don't. Honestly, I think maybe for him, I think he would have known that a team like Bournemouth would have given him first team football, whereas West Ham wouldn't necessarily have given him regular first team football. No disrespect to him, because your stats have proven that he's been a good purchase for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
But I just wonder at the time who was available in order to let him go.
Yeah.
Player-wise.
Let's push Bournemouth to one side for a minute, and let's come on to the main topic. The reason why we do all these channels, this show, etc., is our own beloved West Ham and all the transfer gossip, confusion. One question I'm just going to ask you still. We'll probably do another gift of the gab coming up soon, especially in the lead up to the transfer window. Will Marko Arnautovic, first and foremost, be playing on Saturday against Bournemouth? Will he start?
I know Hernandez is back from injury, and I think what Pellegrini will do is tell Arnautovic to put all his thoughts to one side and focus on, whilst he's still at the club, to focus on the club. So for that, I think he'll start. But I don't know what state of mind he'll be in. We saw last week at home against Arsenal, he ran around a little bit, stopped, threw his arms up as he usually does, ran around a little bit, stopped, threw his arms up. But you could tell it wasn't the Marko Arnautovic that we've grown to love at West Ham. His head wasn't there. I'm hoping a week later, even though we've still got the cloud of whether he might be sold or not above us, I'm hoping he's a little bit more focused this Saturday. So I think what Pellegrini will do is Pellegrini will pick his best 11, and he'll probably start Arnautovic. Do I think he should start? I think, given his performance against Arsenal last week, I don't think he should. I think if Hernandez is fit, throw Hernandez in there. But then here we go. And Hernandez is talking about a transfer as well. So where's his head at? So Pellegrini's got a real difficult situation. He's got his two main strikers, because let's face it, they are his main strikers, because they are in front of Carroll and Perez and Silva, even though Silva's a good prospect. He's got his two main strikers who are unsettled. Now, ironically, I think he might even start both of them on Saturday.
And I agree. I think he will. Yeah.
And these guys need to put a shift in. They're still employed by West Ham. They're still playing for the club, so they need to earn their money.
It is slightly annoying though still, isn't it, when you think that we hit that form, Hernandez hit that form, he got injured and he's out. But I'm not going down this bandwagon of loving Chicharito Hernandez, but I'll talk about him briefly. I do feel for him. I do feel for him in terms of his career at West Ham hasn't been the greatest of of chances, not really getting a run of games. He was given a run of games, he started to score some goals, he gets injured, blah, 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 blah. But if the rumours are true, that, I mean, I think we all know that Chicharito was unsettled anyway. I think we all knew that because he wasn't getting the game time that he wanted. And when you're that guy, when you're the, you know, the way that the club treated him in terms of when they released the information that we were going to sign him, he was our main top dog.
Yeah, mate, he wasn't. You know, last season I can totally understand his disappointment that he wasn't top honcho. And the managers that we had kept messing him around. Moyes, you know, clearly didn't fancy him. But that's changed. Pellegrini's come in, and Pellegrini's used him when he's been fully fit.
Yeah.
This is the thing, mate. You know, there's all this stuff about, he wants to go to Valencia, he wants to go somewhere to get more game time. Well, the only reason why he's been out of the team is because he's been unfair.
Yeah.
You know, it's because he's been injured, you know, and that's why he hasn't played as many games as he would have liked to. So Pellegrini does the right thing. We've noticed with Pellegrini, he does the right thing. He doesn't bring players back too soon. He'll bring them back, which we're not used to. He'll bring them back, he'll put them on the bench, he'll give them a little bit of game time, and he won't just give them 3 minutes at the end like other managers did. He'll say, if you're ready, you'll get 20 minutes. If you're ready, you'll get half an hour. You know, he's done it with Carroll. You know, he's eased Carroll back in. When Hernandez was injured and was back the first time, he eased him back in. So this stuff about him wanting to leave because he wants more game time is a little bit of a red herring, I think.
I do feel that clubs externally look at West Ham's forward line and actually see a fractured, disjointed, you know, issue, and we're going to go and test that resolve. So you've got Chicharito who's spoken out before, or it doesn't even have to speak out. We know he'll want to start every game. We've got an Arnautovic who wants money, who's a great player, who wants Champions League football. He's spoken out about it before. We've got Perez, who hit form in Germany. He's come over to West Ham, not had the greatest starts, would probably leave. And Andy Carroll, you know, we all know that situation. So clubs are going to test West Ham's resolve, and obviously West Ham, you know, all these stories broke out last week, but we ain't going to sell all 4 strikers. I mean, that would be unheard of.
No, we won't.
And suicidal.
Yeah, and well, Valencia have already been knocked back because they only want to loan Hernandez, and we've said no.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see that happening. And unless this Shanghai team are really serious about their bid for Arnautovic, that ain't going to happen either.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that, mate, is you're going to have 2 strikers who've expressed an interest to leave for different reasons, who are going to be held until between now and the end of the season. Now, if they're professional enough, they'll come out and do a job for West Ham. But it could be almost as disruptive to keep them as it would be to sell them. Do you know what I mean? Because if they both get the hump, you know, and we know that they can both get the hump, you know, what are they going to bring to West Ham between now and the end of the season? You know,
well, let's just hope this is where Pellegrini's man management, his skills, his history, his experience in the league, experience all over the world is going to help him massively. And you know, I just get this suspicion that maybe Arnautovic might get offered a new contract and bring him up to the level where he needs to be, and it might keep him happy for another year.
Exactly. I mean, that's what's been rumoured. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, and I know people have laughed. I put it on social media the other day. You know, if we sold all 4 strikers in January, we could get anything between 70 to 90 million pounds and spend money on 2 strikers. Who would you have? And I got slated. Oh, Carroll, blah blah blah. You're not going to get any money off Carroll. If a team wants Carroll, they're going to pay money for him in January. If a team wants Perez, they're going to pay money for him in January. He may be a flop here, but Perez was successful in Spain. You know, and so with that money, I wouldn't be if we sold Carroll or Perez, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't replace them, and I wouldn't be surprised if we use that money to say to Arnautovic, here's another 40 grand a week, you know, to try and keep him. But you know what, mate? If that happens, what message does that give out to the rest of the squad, first of all? And then what will happen again at the end of the season when he turns around and goes, well, I'm still being offered 250 grand a week in China or whatever. You know, so we're going to have this perpetual situation of you know, Arnautovic throwing a strop, him getting a bit more money, and then he'll throw a strop again in 6 months. personally, at this stage, I'm a bit fed up with it, to be honest. And I if we can get the right right players to replace them, I don't care about selling Hernandez and Arnautovic. If we get one or two strikers that are going to hit the ground running, let them go.
Well, to be honest with you, still, I think we need a striker anyway, even if we do keep these two guys, because I don't believe Perez has got what we need, and Carroll's not a long-term solution anyway. So I think it looks like he's definitely his next big move, whether it's in January, whether Arnautovic stays or goes. I still think Pellegrini's in the market for a big signing, whether that be January or the summer.
I do, in the summer. I don't think Pellegrini was planning to buy a striker in January.
But
to be honest.
Some people are thinking it. But if a player comes up at the right price that he wants and he can get him in January, I can see Pellegrini taking that deal, because
I can, and then he'll let one of the other two go. He'll let Arnie go, or
but you never know. He might let at that stage. He might let Perez go.
He'll let Perez go regardless. I think Perez is on his way. I'm sorry. When I'm talking about the strikers, I'm almost not including Carroll or Perez in this. I'm talking about if Pellegrini manages to get a striker over the line, a good striker over the line, he'll turn around and say, right, let Arnautovic or Hernandez go. Perez, I think, will go anyway. I think, is it Sevilla that are interested in him, and I don't know how much for, but
I'm such a negative comment about to make, but they can have him. I know it sounds really horrible. I'm always backing the West Ham players, but they can have him. Still, this is turning into a gift of the gab.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
No, it's fine. This is what we're here for anyway. Personally, I think Chicharito and Arnautovic will start at the weekend. Chicharito's been in training now for over a week. He'll be keen to get back on the park and pick up a bit of form. And obviously, people can disagree with me or agree with me, but I think Arnautovic is in training, and obviously we're sitting on Thursday. He ain't not going to play this weekend. I think he is, as much as he is miserable and moody. I don't think he's going to go on strike anytime soon. Either way, if he doesn't go to China, he'll stay at West Ham, probably get a renewed contract, and probably leave, whether it's the summer or next year. Contracts don't really count for much these days, so I wouldn't worry West Ham. I think he will start. The middle of the park, there's probably not too much to talk about there, but Obiang offer apparently was rejected from Fiorentina.
And I'm pleased, mate. I'm pleased. Yeah. I think Obiang is a decent player, and I know he's a bit unsettled. And apparently, he can't settle in England, and fair enough. But I know a lot of fans don't rate him, but I think he's a really decent player.
So if we've got Arnautovic and Chicharito up top, what do we do in the middle of the park? We've got Antonio, Snodgrass, Noble, Rice, Anderson, all
Nasri.
In there. Nasri.
This is the thing. If Chicharito starts, you're going to lose either Antonio or Nasri, and from that starting lineup of last week. And I think that's quite a tough one. You could possibly put Nasri out wide with Anderson out the other side, and have Rice and Noble in the middle. That possibly. And drop Antonio. But I've been a big critic of Antonio for the last season or so. But he's played really well the last couple of weeks, and it will be unfortunate for him to be dropped. Just like it was unfortunate for Snodgrass to be dropped.
It would be still, but there's a part of me that also thinks that if West Ham are having these issues with the transfer speculation, this is an opportunity for Pellegrini to put this attacking side to test. Let's put Arnautovic, Chicharito, Nasri, Anderson, let's put them all in this side and see what they can do. And I just get this, and I still think I think Antonio's probably going to be the one that loses out in this one. We've got two options here. I think Arnautovic is definitely starting out with the two strikers. Either way, I still think he is.
Are they coming to arrest you, mate?
Yeah, I think we need. I didn't even hear them there for a second.
Did you not?
No. And
sorry, go on.
Chicharito is maybe due to match fitness, etc. So if he doesn't start, we'll do that whole pack out that midfield and support Arnautovic up top, and if not, we'll have Chicharito and Arnautovic up there. But I think the one player that probably will lose out on it, and it's not because I think he deserves to have lost out on it, it'll be unfairly, but we've got a big, busy midfield, and Declan Rice, Mark Noble, we've got, as I said, Obiang. I don't think Obiang's going to start. I really don't. I don't think he's been. I do rate him still. I just don't think he's had the greatest past few months. He's been up and down in his thing, but then have a whole other conversation with you regarding Mark Noble on that one. But we know Declan Rice will be the kind of stonewall situation there. So there's a few different choices in the midfield. Either way, without talking about the team, what is Pellegrini going to do with his style? Is he going to go at them? Is he going to go for it?
I think he's going to go. Yeah, I think Pellegrini doesn't seem to want to play any other way. And if you hear what he said after the Arsenal game, he said we played like a big team.
Yeah.
You know, we played with that mentality. He's got the players to think that they are a big team, and why not? You know, we got world beaters in our team. We've got Arnautovic, we've got Anderson, we've got Diop, we've got Zabaleta, we've got Fabianski. We've got some top class players, you know, in our team. So why not think like a big team? And so I think he's not going to disrespect Bournemouth, but he's going to say you're going to need to match us, which is what he did with Arsenal last week, and wasn't it brilliant to see that? You know, and there's no reason why he's not going to go into this game and go for it. I reckon he is.
I certainly don't think he'll go into this game disrespecting him. We need to think back earlier in the season, and Bournemouth already beat us on our own territory. So Eddie Howe knows how to beat West Ham. He's done it before, he's done it in the past, and he'll try and do it again. And they've got an attacking side, they score and they concede, so it'll be a high scoring game. Listen, we're running tight for time. Let's just get straight to the point. Still, predictions on the score, and also before you do this, get your predictions in below. Let us know your thoughts on what we have said about Arnautovic. Do you think he'll start at the weekend? I think he will. Still thinks he will. Do you think Chicharito will start? I think that's touch and go whether or not his fitness levels are there. Let us know your comments in below.
Yeah, going back on Chicharito, I think it will depend on how fit Hernandez is.
Yeah.
Should have said that before, and it will depend on how Pellegrini wants to line up his midfield. So yeah, I said a minute ago I think he would start, but I'm now countering that. So maybe, but Arnautovic, yeah, he'll definitely start.
Yeah. Get your comments in below. See if you agree with us. Let us know what your thoughts are on the whole transfer saga. Will Perez go, Carroll go, etc. And anyway, before we do our predictions, get your predictions in below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Still, predictions for the game on Saturday.
3-2 West Ham.
Very similar to what I was going to do.
Go on. You're going to say 4-2, aren't you?
No, I was actually going to say. I was thinking about it before I even said predictions, and I was going to say 4-2. But I'm going to go for 2-1 because I think it's got the makings of a high-scoring game, and sometimes we all over-predict it. I love that number 3 right now, though, and I'm feeling really confident with that number 3. So do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going for 3-1 West Ham away from home. Payback to Bournemouth for the defeat earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And maybe a handball header.
You know what? If we handball it in and get away with it, I'll be one of the loudest cheerers there, considering what happened last season
with Callum. So 3-2, 3-1 victory. How good would it be to counteract that, or not counteract, just build upon that fantastic result against Arsenal?
Yeah, that's the thing, mate. That's the thing. We don't want to. We worked hard for that win last week and played bloody well. Yeah. So we don't want to mess it up and then just go and lose to Bournemouth this Saturday. I'm going to slightly bring us back to one player in particular, Samuel Nasri. Will he start? Yes, I agree. And he was. I was really doubtful about that signing, mate, and he was superb against. So what is it? I've seen loads of these comments, these quotes. What is it? Class is permanent. It's true. Yeah. All you have to do is go back and think about when we had Gianfranco Zola as manager, and everyone was saying in training he was still the best player. Yeah. So Samuel Nasri, we're very, we're so torn, or we're so opinionated on West Ham trying to play so many youth players. It's great, it's fantastic, but you do need that experience to balance it up. And Samuel Nasri, hopefully, he's played in total. Two games, but in total about 90 minutes. Performed really well in both those games. Why would you drop this guy? This guy he has an assist. He was instrumental still. If you looked at the highlights from the game against Arsenal, all the highlights involved Samuel Nasri. Because it was interesting what he was doing. Well, I was there, mate, and I saw it over the 90 minutes. So well, I saw the 90 minutes as well, but I'm saying that the highlights reel I know what you mean. Revolved around Samuel Nasri, so. No, mate, he will start, and that's why I sort of kind of went back on whether Hernandez will start or not, because there's quite a lot of players in there that if anyone does get dropped, it could be Antonio, but he even he didn't deserve to be dropped. But Nasri was fantastic, you know. And when Arsenal fans are going, we needed a creative midfielder. Why the hell didn't we go for him?
Yeah.
You know, then mind you, they moan a lot. They moan worse than we do, but it kind of shows the level of respect he has. Absolutely.
Right, guys, we've put our predictions in. Let's make sure you subscribe to the channel and tune in for the rest of our shows. We've got loads of shows coming up, and we'll have a review of the game on Bournemouth as well. So he's been Stel, he's over there. I've been Anton, and this is Iron United. Come on, your eyes.